Alright YouTube, this is a ticket booking app created with HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and the feature that we have included is local storage. So it means even after page refresh, the select tag and the selected seat and the seat and price is going to remain same. Now I'm trying to refresh it. Now if I select this to triple R, and you'll see 200 and the calculation got populated accordingly. Even if I refresh, it is going to remain the same. Now if this is red, that means occupied, you're not allowed to select. If it is white, that means you can select it. Now you can see I'm selecting it. You on each select, you will see the value is getting populated. For 10 seat it's 2000, so if I make this KGF2, for 10 seat it's 3000. So if you don't want, you can deselect it by clicking on the same green indicator. Fine. Now how this is happening, as you see, I have mentioned it, I have saved the values in the local storage. That's what, even after refresh, it is going to remain the same. Now you can see the price is 200. We don't need this. We just need to focus on, let me just close it, save, remove all and create from 0. Select these values, and you can see as I select, the value is getting populated, and if I refresh it, it is going to remain the same. Now if I make this triple R, you can select ID and the movie price got stored into local storage. Now if I refresh and change this to KGF, now this is 300. Now if I make this Adi Purush, it's going to be 100 now. So accordingly, on each select, the value is getting stored in the local storage, and on each refresh, it is getting populated back to the UI. Fine. Without wasting time, let's get started. To follow along, I have left the source code in the description. In case if you got stuck somewhere, just copy paste it and start along with me. Alright YouTube, now let's start designing this app using HTML. The scope here we are going to cover is how to use nth-of-type, and how to use the not operator in CSS, and how to use perspective with transform in CSS. Now start, we need 3 files. Let me create those 3 files. I'm going to name it as we need first index, we need a HTML file first. I'm going to name it as demo.html, and to design we need one more file which is style sheet. I'm going to name it as demo.css. To give functionality, I need to add JavaScript, so for the JavaScript we can give name as demo.js. The name demo, you can change it according to your will, but the extension should be proper. Now exclamatory tab will give you the HTML tag, boilerplate code for HTML tag. Let us link the style sheet, which is demo.css, and then let's link the script tag, which is demo.js. Fine, let me copy paste the required CDN. We need the font, I'm not going to use font awesome here. So let's first copy paste the HTML for the drop down. So if I show you, demo.html is our file. So this is how it looks. Now on style sheet, we'll be using the font family called Poppins. Let me copy it and paste it here. So this is the CDN for Poppins. For all element, I have added the font family Poppins. Now for the CSS, I have already created the rule for it. So before that, let me just show you the HTML so that we can understand CSS better. We have a main container which I have named it as container movie picker, and as a first child we have label, and as a second child we have select tag. So that is what I have mentioned here, the container, and as a first child we have label, and the second child we have select tag with class movie, and inside the select we have option tag. So this is straightforward. Let me design this. So once I refresh, you'll see the font got loaded, and on the body, let's have the background color of something grayish, and whatever is there I want to be at the center. So display flex, align items center, justify content center. So in order for the align item and justify content to work, we need to have width 100% of viewport. Viewport is nothing but browser screen, and height 100% of viewport height. So now you will see this at the center. Now I want the containers child to be one after the other. It's already there, so we don't have to do anything. Now just we need space. So for that, just select the select tag and give margin left of 20 pixel or 10 pixel according to your will. Cool. And whatever is there, I want it to have color of white, so we don't have to use white on all the sections. Now let's style the we don't have to style label, we have to select the option tag, sorry, select tag. So for the select, you'll see we need to have padding top bottom 10 pixel, left and right 20 pixel. Make sure it's saved and refresh this, and cool. And if you want, you can have border radius on all sides, which is 5 pixel. So you'll see there's a right slightly corner. You can add even more just by giving it 20 pixel. Now you got it. Cool. Now it's time to import the second section, which is the showcase section. Let me show you the HTML first. So we have an unordered list. So this is an unordered list. Inside unordered list, we have 3 list items. As I said, we have 3 list items, and each list item has a div. So this is a div and this is a small tag. So this is div and this is small tag. Again, this is div and small tag, div and small tag. The only difference is the first one has no class, additional class other than select seat. Now the second has the class which is select, and the third which has a class called occupy. So because of this green, because of this class called selected, we are getting the color green. The same way, because of this class occupied, we are getting the color. Alright, fine. Now let's select the CSS and let me use it. So reason for doing this is just not to waste time on typing all the CSS, and it is always the right way to use the CSS. So this is how we should write the CSS in order to get away from the problem called CSS overlapping, or you can say CSS overriding. So we are using proper hierarchy, so there is no chance of having CSS overriding. So the reason is, you can see this section also has the class called seat, and the previous section also has, the next section which we are about to create also has the class called seat. So in order to get away from the problem called overriding, CSS overriding, we are using this. Moreover, there's a concept called CSS priority. So that means, if you see, you have to give 1 to each element. So this is 1 element, so the point is 1. So this is 2 element, the point is 2. This is 3 element, so the point is 3. How the point is 3? It's because this is given 1, this is given 1, and this is given 1. So that means this will be have high priority. The same way, if I show you what is the difference between this and this, you'll see this seat, it has the class called it. For just a moment, let's just place this at the bottom. So now what is the difference between, if I give background color red to this, and the same way if I give background color to red this, if I give green to this, whoever as a basic beginner of CSS would say that this green would work fine, that is correct. But what if I place this just above here? For as a beginner, he would again say red. It's because we all know CSS browser reads the CSS as from top to bottom, so that is correct. But again it gives a priority for the CSS. The other way is, we can give important, so that this green can be applied. And the next secret which only the intermediate CSS may know is, each of them will be given a priority point. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So I'm just calculating the sum as 4. So it's because 1 1 1 1, to the sum of the 4 element is 4. The same way, the sum of the 3 element is 3. So in this case, this is going to be applied instead of this. So I have made the video long just to give you some good information. Fine, now let's get into this CSS. Now for the showcase, let me add background color and #333. and if you see we are getting this side by side, it's because of the display flex property. I don't want side by side, I want one below the other, so flex direction column would work, one below the other. Now for the showcase, let me add some margin top to it, which is 20 pixel, so we get some space between these two sections. Now whatever is there inside the unordered list, I want it to be as side by side instead of one below the other. So the trick is very simple, which we have already applied to the body tag display flex, align item center, justify content center, and let me add padding to it, which is 20 pixel. You can give according to your will. And for all the list item, let me give margin left as 10 pixel, 20 pixel. If I give, let me just make this 50 pixel. Cool. And I want to remove all the bullet point, so list style none to the main unordered list. And now we have a div. Each list item has a div. Let me give height as 15 pixel and width as 15 pixel, and not to forget border top left radius as 10 pixel. The same way bottom top right radius as 10 pixel. So this is not going to show up unless you give background color white. So again, this list item has two child, which is a div with clause seat and a small tag. So I want it to be displayed side by side, so display flex would work. Make sure it's saved. It should not be applied on seat, it should be applied on the list item because it has two child. Cool. And for the small tag, we can again have margin left of 10 pixel or 20 pixel according to the need, or instead we can give this to the div and apply a right to it, margin right. Cool. And for the selected, let the background color be green, and for the occupy, the background color be red. Cool. Almost done. Now it's time for the next section, which is the seat. So let me just copy paste the whole section as of now. Let me just, and then I'll explain you. So it's nothing but a sequence of a div which is getting repeated. So let me just comment this so that we don't get any confusion. Now we have a container again called container screen, and then we have this screen. So this screen is the theater screen which you see, and then we have row. So this is first row, this is second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So for the first row, we have some amount of div with class seat. For second row again, we have some amount of class with called seat, and if you note, we have a class called occupied, and then there are some more occupied that note that is displayed as the color red. I hope that is clear. It is nothing but a sequence of this row has been repeated 1 2 3 4 5 6 number of times. Now let's get into the CSS. We don't see anything because we don't have anything inside the seat. In order to see the output, we want to give the height and width to the seat. So not to waste any time, margin top of 20 pixel just to get some space between this section and the below section. Now we'll look at the screen later on, so let's focus on the seat. Let's have the height of 10 pixel and width of 10 pixel, and don't forget to background color white. Now if you see, it got into a straight line. We don't want it to be a straight line, we want it to be as a row. So display flex, align item center, and justify content center. Now get the seat and give margin top and bottom 0, left and right 5 pixel. Okay, it's getting loaded. It's not saved yet. Yeah. Now for the row, give margin top of 5 pixel. Cool. Now you can give border radius to seat, border top left radius 5 pixel, border bottom, not bottom, I'm sorry, just right. Cool. Now we are just going to use the same color for the selected and for the occupied. Refresh this, and cool, that's there. And now we are going to use the nth of type. Call the nth of type, which is after 2, just get the class called seat and get the position 2, that's what I'm saying, and give margin right of 20 pixel or 10 pixel, not nth last of child but nth of type. The same way we are going to use nth last of type, and in this case we can give margin left. Cool, that's done, and I hope it's clear. Now again we are just going to learn about not. We have completed this. Now when I hover it, first select the seat and give opacity of 0.3, and when I hover on it, I wanted to get the opacity of 1. So when I hover on the seat, I want the opacity to be 1. So now you see, but I don't want this to be applied. So for that, copy this, seat colon not with class occupied, and this opacity we can give 1 to each, and I want the cursor for the seat to be pointer. So if you see, when I hover it as like this one, but you'll see there is quick interaction. We don't want that. To stop that, what we can do is we can make transition 0.5s. Make sure it's saved, refresh this, so a slow. And now when I hover on the not, I want to have the cursor as not allowed. So if you see on our main UI design, when I hover on the occupied seat, you'll see the not allowed symbol. The same way, when I hover here, we are getting the not allowed symbol. So I feel the black is little 111. Cool. I think everything seems to be fine. Now if you see on the main design, when I hover on it, you'll see the seat is getting bigger, or you can say larger. So to have that, we can have transform scale, refresh this, make sure it's saved, and then refresh this to see the output. So you can see, but it is applied to this as well. So to stop that, what we can do is we can give seat on not opacity occupied and then hover it. Now you'll see it is not going to get scaled, but the rest which is not occupied will be scaled. So we are simply saying that don't apply this hover effect on seat which has the class occupied. So if you don't understand, I recommend you to rewind again and listen. Fine. Now let's focus on the screen. Screen, what's over here? If you see, this is the screen. Let me give a height of 150 pixel. I think it's too much. Let's just make this 80 pixel, and width of 200 pixel, and let me give the background color as white. So this is how it's going to look. Instead of making this, let me just make this 150 pixel. Oh sorry, let that be 200. We can reduce it by 70 to 30. Seems to be working fine. And of course I want margin bottom 20 pixel to get some space between the seats and the screen. Now I want this to be glowed, like I need a glow effect. So walk shadow, uh, left and right, top and bottom, blurriness, and the color, which is white. Now you see some glow effect. Now we're going to use the transform property, which is rotate on the x-axis on the degree of, let's say, 118 degree, which is tried and tested. That's why I know, and I'll show you in a minute how to try and test it. Now if I get into the inspect, if you see, I have right clicked and get into the inspect and hover on, by using this, click on this button and hover on the screen. Now you will see the CSS attached to it. So this is the CSS attached to it. I think it's not got saved, that's why it's not showing up. Yep, you got it. Now you can play with this along the y-axis. Now to get some 3D effect, make sure first get the div in which you are using the transform property, so which is this one. The screen is the div, and know the direct parent. The direct parent is screen container. So here we have to use perspective, which we can make this 1000 pixel, which is tried and tested. You can test with it. Now you'll see. Now you can change. You can play with your angle. Cool. I'm leaving it to you. And now I think you can remove the margin bottom. Cool. That's also done. Now the final one, which is the indicator. Let me just paste that section as well, which is nothing but a paragraph with class text, and it has two span, which is count and total. Let me just get into the CSS and paste it, the CSS hierarchy, remove the comment. Now we are not going to do anything, but we are just going to copy paste the color green to both the count, with both the span tag, which is count, and the total. I think most of the CSS we have completed. It's time to jump into the JavaScript. I think I have not saved it. Refresh it, and here you go. Margin top 10 pixel. Can make this 20 as well. So I think the style for this UI design is done. Now it's time to focus on the script tag. Alright, now let's start giving life to our project. Now if you see, let me refresh this and show you. If I am now able to select the seat, let me select this seat, and you can see accordingly the seat. I have selected 5 seat, so 5 seat, it is displaying at 5 seat, and 5 into 100, which is 500. So if I select the triple R movie, which is the price of 200, so 500 into 200, it's 1000. The same way KGF 2, 500, 300 into 5 is 1500. So let's work on this. So the very first thing is we need to get all the HTML elements in this JavaScript. So let me get it, paste it. Now if you remember, these two had an ID. This had ID count, this had ID total. That is what is displayed here. and then we have a select tag, which is this one, which had an ID called movie, and then we have a screen container. The screen container is nothing but this div. Let me show you. The screen container is nothing but which holds the screen and the lots of seats. And finally, we have the seat which are available. That means if you see the rows which has class called seat, some of them has only seat, some of them has seat with class occupied. So I want only the seat, not the occupied. That's why I have written seat but not occupied. I'm storing it into a variable. And then finally the ticket price. Now if you see on the HTML, I have modified one thing. Instead of value 1 to 3, I have given the ticket price itself, 100, 200 and 300. So if I select any one of it, the value select tag dot value, if I say select, this is a select tag, and if I click on this, so the select tag dot value is 200. So that 200 is the ticket price. So this is, if you simply assign this in this way, what happens is a string is assigned. I don't want a string to be assigned. The number I want this value to be treated as number. That's the reason I have given plus, or else we can make parse int. Fine. The very first thing what we need to do is we want to add a event listener, click listener on the screen. So get the seat container, so which is simply the container screen, and add an event listener, which is click. So now when I click, I want to get the element which I have clicked. So console.log, just make sure your script is loaded. Cool, get into the console, and if I click on a seat container, you should see the clicked element. So if you want the click element, e.target would work. So div dot the class dot seat. So but if I click on the screen, you'll get the screen. If I click outside of screen and outside of seat, you will also get that as well. You can see you have clicked on container screen. So I want to select only the seat, e dot target dot class list dot contains only seats. So now even if I click on outside the seat, you will not get anything. You see, I'm clicking outside and I'm clicking on screen, you're not getting anything. But if I click on seat, I should get the value, but here I'm not getting it. e.target.contains, since it's a class, we don't have to pass. So if I click on the seat, you're getting the seat, but I click outside, we are not going to get anything. Cool. Now, and even if I click on the occupied, you will see the seat occupied is getting selected. I don't want that. So we will be passing an condition saying that, and it should not contain the class occupied. Exclamation is nothing but not. There seems to be a problem. This is the first element, and then we have this, the second, and here it should be round bracket. Fine. Cool. Console dot log e dot target dot class e dot target. Now even if I click on occupied, nothing is going to happen. If I click on seat, you'll see only the seat is getting selected. So now with this, what we can do is we need to add a class called selected on the seat dot class list dot toggle, which is selected. So if I refresh, click on it, you're getting the class selected applied on the clicked element. Now if I click again, it will get removed. That's the power of e.target.classList. Cool. Now once I made this, I want these to be updated. So we'll be creating a function called update price and count. So let's create a function. Now we need to get the number of elements which we have clicked. So that means the class list, the selected, we need to find the class selected over the select container string. So document dot query selector, which is all, we have multiple class dot selected, not only selected but inside the screen. Inside this div, if there is selected, then just show it. Seats selected. We can get the count as well. So console dot log dot length. So if I refresh, on each click you will see a number getting incremented. Now this is the count. So get the count div and use the inner text property to assign the value. The same way, get the total, and here into the total number of seat multiplied by the ticket price. The ticket price is nothing but the selected value. So let me just refresh it, make sure you have called it. Let me just refresh it. Click one. You got one. Sorry. I think I have not changed the value for demo2.html. Change the value of select tag, which is 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 300 rupees. Refresh it. 1 selected, 100, 2 selected, 200, 3 selected, 300. But if you notice, it will remove this value. So on page load, it is nothing. Select 1, 2, 3. 2 seats multiplied by 100, 300. 3 seats multiplied by 100, 300. But there is a catch here. If I select 200, the price is not getting updated. So now we need to add an event listener on the select tag. So here it's select tag dot add event listener, which is change. So when there is a change, I want to update the ticket price, and then call the update count and total. So now Adi Purush is selected, so the ticket price is 100. So if I select triple R, the price is 200. So if I select KGF, the price is 300. The same way, if I select 2 seats, 2 multiplied by 300 is 600. The same way, 2 multiplied by 200 is 400. So let me click one more time. The same way, everything is working as we thought. Now the next thing is how to add this into a local storage. That means even if I refresh, the page should have these values, the selected seeds and the count and total value should remain. So once I refresh, it will go away. We don't want that. Let's see now how to implement that. Alright, now we are going to store the selected seat values along with the the price and the selected value in the local storage. You can see the selected index are 7 and 14. This is 7 and this is 14. If I click on another value, you'll see the value getting updated, 4, 7 and 14. So that means 3 seats are selected. Now 4, 7, 17 and 35. So 4 selectors selected. Along with that, now it's triple R, which is 1 and 200. Let me select this KGF, which is now 2 and 300. If I select Adi Purush, this is 0 and 100. The same way, this is what we are going to do in this session. Fine. Now the very first thing what we need to do is we need to get the index value of the selected seat. To get that, we'll be using this function just inside the update price count. Now let's create a variable called select indexes, selected indexes, and we will be using the spread operator. The reason for using spread operator is because we need to convert the value of an array, to a regular numbers. That's the reason we are doing it. So now this is not going to be so this is a node list, so we'll be getting the node list and converting it to an array. That's the reason of using spread operator. To use spread operator, we'll be just using the variable along with this kind of syntax. Now if I console and show you, you'll be getting it as an array. So this, let me check it on our UI. So now you see the node list is getting converted to array. Simply the spread operator converts the node list into an array. That's what we are getting. Now again we will be using a map function to get only the index. The reason for using map function, we can manipulate the array with the help of map function. Now let's manipulate the array. Now we can access individual array using this s, and the way we are going to use manipulate is first get all the selected values, get all the selected seat, I will get all the available seat, so we will be retaining it, get all the available seat, and use the index of and pass the selected values. Let me show you the index value now. Now in this case we won't be getting the div, but we'll be getting the index. So there seems to be an error, it's not a function. So this index of will again work only on the arrays. So the query selector all returns the node list and the spread operator returns the array. So now you see we are getting the indexes in the form of array, not the node list. Now we need to save this indexes to the local storage. To set the local storage, we can directly call local storage. It's an inbuilt function, local storage.set item. We need to give a key called indexes, and we need to pass the value, which is this one. Since this is an array, we need to convert into string. Local storage only understands strings, not an array. So now with this function JSON.stringify, what it does is it simply converts the array into string. Now to identify, we need to store it into a variable called local storage underscore indexes. Now if I select some seats and get into the application tab, in the local storage you'll see the variable indexes. Refresh it again, you'll see some value called indexes, and the index will be populated as per our click. Now even after page refresh, the value is not going to get deleted. Along with these indexes, we need to save the state of the select tag as well. So for that, in this change we need some modification, e.target.value. Now we need to pass two value, set state, the variable name set state of select tag, Now we need to pass the price. So the price is simply this one, e.target.value, and the selected index. The selected index is nothing but the option tag. This is 1, this is 0, this is 1 and 2. So that's what it is going to select it. Now we need to create this function. And we need to set this values into a local storage. So this is going to be state and this is going to be price. Now ls underscore price. So it's better to copy the same thing which we have created here. In this case we don't need stringify. So this is state is nothing but an ID. We'll be getting an ID of select. We don't need stringify. Simply pass the state. Now the second thing is we'll be getting the price of select and simply pass the price. Now let's refresh this and select the state. So the ID is 1 and the price is 200. So the ID is 2, the price is 100. Let's select 1. The ID is 0 and this is the price is 100. So now it's time to populate the local storage value into the UI. Now it's time to implement the local storage value into the UI. Fine. Now let me just copy this code because it's going to be a little hectic. And I'll explain you line by line what I actually did. In the demo.js we'll be calling a function on page load which is populate UI. And this populate UI, what it does is it gets the value from the local storage, which is the index. We have given the name as seat indexes and I'm storing it into a variable and I'm checking if the selected index is null or not. The reason for using parse is previously we have converted the array to string. Now we are converting the string to array. That's the reason parse int, and we are checking whether the value is there or not. If the value is there, then what we need to do is we need to run a for loop on all the seats. So this is the seat available on all seats. I'm running a for loop for each loop, and if the index match with this index, then on the element, which is yes, on the element add the class selected. Now again the same way for the select tags. Here I have given the select ID. You can use that. We don't need parse JSON parse because it's actually a string. Now again, if it is checking if it is there or not. If it is there, then use the select tag and make the selected index as which is there on the select ID. So select ID value is select ID. Now again populate the ticket price. This is the select tag and its value will be populated as ticket tag. You can make this plus if you want. Now call the update price on page load. Your app is ready. Now you can select accordingly. You'll see the price is getting changed, and even after refresh you can see KGF 2 300 and 8 seat 2400. It is going to remain the same. Now if I change this to Adi Purush and refresh, again it's going to remain the same. Change this to triple R, you will see 300 into 5 is 1500. Again 200 into 5 is 1000, and on page refresh I think there we have an error.